PureOS has emerged as one of the most fascinating Linux distributions in the privacy and security world. In today's video script, we'll take you on a long, deep, and immersive journey into everything that makes PureOS unique. Powerful, misunderstood, underrated, and yet extremely important in a world driven by data collection, corporate surveillance, and digital dependency. This script will move slowly and steadily, drawing you into the story of PureOS, starting from the vision behind it, the philosophy that shapes it, how it works internally, how it compares with mainstream Linux distros, what sets it apart, what makes it challenging, what makes it powerful, and why a growing section of the privacy-focused community is drawn toward it even though it's niche, less mainstream, and far from the typical plug-and-play Linux distribution many casual users are familiar with. As you listen, imagine the world of open-source distros as a big crowded market filled with flashy, feature-rich options fighting for attention, and then, in one quiet corner sits PureOS. No ads, no tracking, no proprietary software. No corporate eye watching over your activity, simply a clean, ethical, minimal environment shaped by strict guidelines, designed to protect you at every layer from the kernel to the applications and from the interface to the browsing experience. Many people don't even know PureOS exists or confuse it with just another Debian spin. But the truth is that PureOS is much more than that. It represents an idealistic branch of the open source tree, attempting to return computing back to what it originally promised. Freedom, privacy, and full user control, without the hidden strings of corporate manipulation, telemetry, pre-installed services, app store tracking, or mandatory accounts. To understand PureOS, you first need to understand the company behind it, Purism. Purism is known for building privacy-first, security-driven laptops and phones, most famously the Librem laptop series and the Librem 5 phone. These devices were designed as an antidote to modern tech platforms that prioritize profits over privacy. PureOS was built as the official operating system for these devices, but it's fully open source and completely free to use on any hardware. When Purism created PureOS, the mission was simple yet ambitious. Build an operating system that is 100% free, not just in cost, but in ideology, while removing everything that spies, tracks, logs, or manipulates user behavior. That goal shaped the entire architecture of PureOS. While most Linux distros, even open-source ones, use proprietary blobs, third-party systems, and closed components for convenience, speed, or hardware compatibility, PureOS took the opposite path. It follows strict FSF-free software foundation guidelines and is listed as one of the very few fully free Linux distributions approved by the FSF itself. That means PureOS contains absolutely no proprietary firmware, no drivers, no codecs, no system components that can hide surveillance code, and no applications that rely on data harvesting. Everything is transparent, open source, inspectable, and modifiable. This level of purity makes PureOS one of the safest distros in existence, but it also creates challenges for users with hardware that depends on proprietary drivers. That's why PureOS is often misunderstood. What some people call incompatibility is actually a deliberate design decision. PureOS refuses to include anything in the OS that the user cannot see or control. Now imagine booting PureOS for the first time. The experience is elegant, clean, and minimalistic, because the system avoids unnecessary bloat or bundled software. Instead of shipping a massive pre-installed package library, it gives the user a curated, privacy-respecting environment. The default desktop environment is GNOME, known for its simplicity and modern design. But unlike GNOME and Ubuntu or Fedora, PureOS's GNOME experience is tweaked for privacy. There are no intrusive suggestions, no hidden network calls, no anonymous analytics running in the background. The browser is PureBrowser, custom privacy-focused version of Firefox, hardened with security patches, privacy extensions, anti-tracking features, HTTPS enforcement, Tor integration options, and strict settings that prevent fingerprinting as much as possible. PureBrowser is one of the core components that gives PureOS its identity, because in today's world, the browser is where 90% of privacy risks happen. PureOS ensures that you are protected right from your first search. Inside PureOS, everything revolves around the idea that the user is fully in charge. Package management is handled through apt. Just like in Debian, but PureOS uses a security-oriented repository system. Only free software is allowed in the repositories, making it extremely difficult for malware, spyware, or hidden telemetry-based dependencies to slip in. That's important because even some popular Linux distros include proprietary blobs by default, often hidden in drivers, firmware packages, GPU utilities, encoding tools, browser add-ons, or closed-source background services. PureOS includes none of this, creating one of the cleanest Linux environments available today. This leads to an OS that feels predictable, stable, reliable, and consistent, and that's exactly what people who care about privacy want. They want to know that the OS acts exactly how it should without secret network calls, background processes, or unknown applications making decisions for them. But PureOS is not just about privacy. It's also about digital sovereignty, the idea that technology should not control people, but people should control technology. This philosophy pushes PureOS to provide layers of protection beyond what normal users notice. The OS uses sandboxing technologies to isolate applications, reducing the risk of exploits or data leaks. GNOME permissions are stricter, network access is regulated, and security updates are delivered quickly. PureOS is also moving toward integrating Purism's advanced security stack, which includes the Librem key and PureBoot, giving users full control over their boot process with tamper detection capabilities. This level of security is rare and usually found in enterprise or government-level systems, but PureOS brings it to everyday users who want that level of trust. Now let's talk about the foundation of PureOS. At its core, PureOS is built on Debian, one of the oldest and most stable Linux distributions. But PureOS is not Debian with a skin. Instead, PureOS is a heavily modified derivative that removes all non-free components and re-engineers many elements to match FSF requirements. Purism also builds its own custom kernel known as the Librem kernel, which removes proprietary firmware blobs. This ensures that users running PureOS know exactly what code is running on their system at all times. Of course, this approach has consequences. Many users with NVIDIA GPUs, certain Wi-Fi chips, or newer hardware may face compatibility limitations simply because the manufacturers of those components refuse to release open-source drivers. PureOS will not include proprietary drivers even if it means reduced hardware support. This strictness is part of PureOS's identity. Rather than compromising on values, it maintains a high ethical standard. Other distros solve compatibility issues by including proprietary blobs in the kernel. PureOS simply refuses. When you dig deeper, the most interesting aspect of PureOS is how it challenges the modern digital ecosystem. Look around and you'll see that everything today is driven by surveillance capitalism. Devices monitor user behavior, apps collect data, browsers store logs, corporations run machine learning models on user activities. Smart devices track movement, location, habits, preferences, and even emotions. PureOS is one of the few systems designed to stand against this trend. The OS does not phone home. It does not track usage. It does not analyze your behavior. It does not push advertisements. It does not ask you to create an account. It does not sync your data to the cloud unless you explicitly set up your own service. It gives you a private digital world inside your device. In many ways, PureOS feels like a silent protest against modern tech. As PureOS grew, it attracted a specific type of audience, privacy advocates. Open-source purists, cybersecurity professionals, digital rights activists, journalists, and users who want full control over their computing environment. The OS resonates strongly with people who use the internet cautiously and value anonymity. While mainstream users look for flashy app stores and pre-installed features, PureOS offers the opposite: simplicity, transparency, and ethical computing. It's not trying to compete with Ubuntu, Fedora, or Linux Mint. Instead, it sits in its own category, appealing to those who prioritize freedom over convenience. And that's where PureOS's biggest strength lies. Its purity gives users confidence that the OS is working with them, not against them. But PureOS is not without controversy. Some critics argue that the strict free software-only stance limits its usability, especially for gaming, creative tools, or proprietary apps. So many users expect things like Steam, NVIDIA drivers, or music video codecs to work out of the box, but PureOS intentionally avoids such components. Some users falsely assume PureOS is broken or incomplete because it doesn't support certain hardware. But the truth is, that PureOS is simply unwilling to include closed software that compromises user freedom. Critics also complain that PureBrowser is too restrictive because it disables many tracking mechanisms, fingerprinting scripts, and third-party plugins by default. But for privacy enthusiasts, these choices are not limitations, they're protections. Another debate revolves around the Librem 5 phone. When PureOS was extended to support mobile devices, Purism envisioned a unified ecosystem where the same OS would run on both desktop and phone. This convergence is a bold idea. Instead of being forced to use Android or iOS, users could have a fully open-source, non-tracking mobile system. PureOS on the Librem 5 allows users to run full desktop apps on a phone, modify system components, and switch between mobile and desktop mode. This concept mirrors what Ubuntu once attempted with Ubuntu Touch, but never fully completed. With PureOS, Purism continues pushing that dream forward. The phone uses hardware kill switches for camera, microphone, Wi-Fi, and cellular connectivity, making it one of the most secure phones ever built. Critics say PureOS Mobile is not as polished as Android or iOS, but again, the goal isn't mass-market adoption. It's digital freedom and technological independence. PureOS also reflects the future of privacy-first computing. As global awareness around surveillance grows, more users are beginning to question the power of big tech companies. People want operating systems that don't rely on centralized ecosystems, cloud lock-in, ad profiling, or secret data harvesting. PureOS already embodies this future. It provides a proof of concept of how ethical software can exist even in the modern world. In the long run, PureOS may influence the design of other privacy-oriented distros, pushing Linux developers to think more deeply about digital rights. Another interesting aspect of PureOS is how minimal the system feels. Since it avoids non-free components, the OS stays lightweight, clean, and efficient. It boots quickly, consumes fewer resources, and offers a distraction-free workspace. Many users describe PureOS as peaceful because the system doesn't overwhelm them with notifications, app stores, or background services. This makes PureOS ideal for writers, researchers, developers, cybersecurity testers, and people who enjoy a quiet, focused computing environment. It's also excellent for high-security environments such as NGOs, human rights organizations, investigative journalism platforms, and privacy-sensitive institutions. As security threats evolve, PureOS keeps enhancing its defense mechanisms. The distribution includes AppArm, strong sandboxing, kernel hardening techniques, secure DNS configurations, and strict metadata minimizing technologies. Security updates arrive quickly, especially for critical vulnerabilities. This makes PureOS a strong choice for anyone who wants a hardened OS without complicated setup. Unlike Cube's OS, which offers extreme isolation but is difficult for beginners, PureOS strikes a balance between usability and security. It's not as extreme as Cube's, but much more private than mainstream distros. Now let's talk about the user experience. PureOS feels smooth, modern, and simple due to GNOME's design language. The interface is clean, with soft edges, flat icons, and minimal clutter. Since PureOS avoids bloat, the desktop never feels overwhelmed. Even system settings are simplified. Privacy options are visible and easy to manage. PureBrowser integrates privacy tools like DuckDuckGo, Tor settings, oblique origin-like protections, and tracking blockers by default. This means that the moment you open PureOS, you're browsing the internet safely without needing extensions, tweaks, or scripts. The OS gives a feeling of calm assurance that your data stays with you. Of course, no distro is perfect. PureOS requires a certain mindset, the mindset that values privacy over convenience, ethics over shortcuts, and transparency over flashy features. Some users may find it restrictive, but those who appreciate its philosophy fall in love with it. They describe PureOS not just as a distribution, but as a lifestyle of computing where everything is open, ethical, and aligned with user rights. As the world moves toward digital surveillance, PureOS stands like a lighthouse, reminding us that computing can be safe, honest, and transparent. It encourages a world where technology empowers people instead of exploiting them, supports an ecosystem where free software flourishes, where developers build tools without worrying about corporate interference, where privacy becomes a standard rather than an afterthought. PureOS proves that even in a world controlled by big tech giants, small teams with strong values can create powerful ethical systems. This journey of PureOS continues to evolve. Purism regularly updates the distribution, improves hardware integration with Librem devices, enhances PureBrowser, and expands the mobile ecosystem. Communities around PureOS are growing slowly but steadily. Privacy activists, security experts, open-source contributors, and ethical developers are beginning to embrace PureOS as a foundation for future privacy tools and secure communication platforms. Many also appreciate the fact that PureOS's open-source nature allows anyone to inspect the code, verify its integrity, and modify it as needed. The modern tech landscape is dominated by surveillance-heavy systems, making PureOS feel refreshing, almost revolutionary. It gives users the chance to reclaim control, break free from data mining ecosystems, and operate in a world where transparency and freedom come first. Whether PureOS becomes a mainstream success doesn't matter. What matters is the philosophy it carries that computing should be private, ethical, and user-controlled. PureOS is more than an operating system. It's a statement, a movement, and a promise of what technology can be when built with moral responsibility.